Now, the injuries just keep on racking up over the international break. In my side, I've currently got GABRIEL, SEMENYO, and potentially Enzo Fernandez all injured for this game week. I've recorded my transfer plans twice already over the international break, but hopefully this is the third and final time. And I believe I've found a great plan that, of course, can replace all the injured players and hopefully give you some insight for your own side. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as we're trying to hit 25,000 subscribers before the end of the season, and it is only possible with your amazing support. So like I said, if you do enjoy the content, like, subscribe, get all your questions in as well. As you can see on screen right now, this is currently how my side was lining up for game week 12, and as you can see, we've currently got 3 players flagged. It's not looking great for GABRIEL in terms of his injury at the moment, which is a big concern. And obviously some people are saying, it could just be a couple of weeks. Why, bother making a transfer? Well, over the next few weeks, we have a hell of a lot of Premier League games all slammed into them. We've actually got a midweek Premier League round as well in game week 14. So if it is only just, say 3 weeks, it would actually probably be more likely 4 or 5 actual FPL game weeks. And that is a really big scenario. You can't be carrying around a 6.6 million player that is eating up a lot of a budget, taking up a vital Arsenal spot as well, when of course it's going to be, 4 or 5 potential game weeks. So it's just not worth doing, in my personal opinion. Obviously, Semenyo as well. I was actually contemplating maybe taking him out. However, I thought, a 90-minute guy, looking at the fixtures they've got him and Bournemouth have got coming up. Sorry, it probably wasn't worth making the move, and obviously it would have been a very luxurious transfer. However, with this injury that has completely come out of the blue from socials, it is looking more likely that I probably will move him on this week, unless, of course, this has been something that maybe it wasn't an injury, and maybe it was some personal reasons that he took a break from the international squad, because that is another rumor that is floating around on Twitter. And FPL Abby, one of the members of the cartel, actually did a little bit of digging over on his Instagram and found out it was his 5-year anniversary, I think either today or yesterday, and he's gone out for a meal with his partner as well. So maybe we actually might be looking at a player that's just had some personal time off. It's a long-term relationship, probably going to be, maybe I imagine, his future wife and whatever and stuff like that. So it makes sense. Maybe he's just had a little bit of time off before the busy festive period with his family. It's probably been agreed with Bournemouth and, of course, the international. So that might be something that potentially comes out from the press conference. So if you do see news around Semenyo going that, oh yeah, he's out, he's confirmed out, maybe, like I said, just have a little bit of kind of, side of the air of caution of that one, because it might just be for personal reasons, not actually any injury that he did sustain, because some news outlets are, of course, reporting that as well. But let's dive into my transfer targets and the players that I am, going to be looking at to bring in for my free injured players if they are injured come the game week 12 deadline. So let's start off first then. It is going to be Brian and Buemo. I mean, I've wanted to get this guy in for a few good games now. I really wanted to, of course, go and get Brian Mbeumo into the side. Like, he's the 3rd best player for non-penalty XGI. The Manchester United fixtures are great, and if you watch from an eye test perspective, not only has he looked good, but United going forward as well have definitely looked like a side that can score some goals. And of course, the fixtures before he does jettison off to AFCON are really good for a guy that I expect to probably play 90 or close to 90 in every single one of those fixtures as well. Everton, Palace, probably the most difficult fixture coming into that run. However, Crystal Palace, for me, at that point, will have just played a European game. Then, of course, game week 14 is a mid-game week. Then after game week 14, they've got another Europa Conference League game. Then in game week 15, they've got a Premier League game, another midweek round, game week 16. Then I think they've got another midweek round before Christmas as well. So they've got a hell of a lot of fixtures coming up. So they might be a bit, laggy, bit lethargic, potentially not at the races, and maybe Manchester United could get something out of that fixture. Then West Ham and Wolves, 2 of the worst sides in the league for goals conceded and expected goals conceded right now. So again, those feel like absolutely great fixtures to, of course, be targeting for a guy that is just smashing in the points, smashing in the goals, and I do think he would be a perfect replacement. Of course, the only downside is that he does go off to AFCON, but we get those AFCON transfers, so of course, just using up one of them, or of course, building some transfers into that game week 16, then of course, looking to try and use as many as possible, could be the play that just gets our side back into a more healthy position and not have to worry too much about Brian Mbeumo leaving the club. club. In terms of the Gabriel replacement, I would actually be looking at Virgil van Dijk. I think this move is probably going to be very popular amongst content creators and, of course, a lot of engaged managers across the community. I do feel like there's probably two replacements for Gabriel right now. It is either Virgil van Dijk or it is moving to a different Arsenal defender. I've already got Raya, so I don't think there's potentially any necessarily need for me to go back onto the double up. So we're going to look at Virgil van Dijk. Some great fixtures coming up for Liverpool. Of course, as you can see here, he can hit defensive contributions, has managed to hit them in 60% of his games so far this season. So pretty steady from Virgil van Dijk. The fixtures, like I said, are just very, very good. If you look to the 11FI clean sheet model as well, Liverpool are a side that are ridiculously fancied to go and do exceptionally well over that period as well. So it is something that maybe, I know the defensive record so far this season hasn't been great, but maybe they've just been waiting for a fixture run like this where things can get themselves back on track. They can, of course, look a lot more defensively assured and probably just keep a few clean sheets across the way. That would be the hope. Of course, I won't be expecting any goals out of Virgil van Dijk. It will purely just be defensive contributions and those clean sheets where I do feel I can probably get the most out of him. Other than that, though, I probably would say, the other option is probably potentially an Arsenal defender. Probably that option would be Saliba. So that is where I'm at in terms of the Semenyo and the Gabriel replacements. In terms of Enzo, though, we are going to need to free up a little bit of funds to, of course, make all this magic happen. I can't just do the Virgil and I can't just do the Mbeumo moves just like that. I do, of course, need to take Enzo down to somebody else as well. And the player that I do have in mind for that one will be coming up in a second. But before that, if, of course, you are looking to join the FPL cartel, I briefly mentioned it there with a shout out to one of our members, FPL Abby. Some great work from her over in the Discord server. It is like I said, an exclusive Discord. Of course, we've got an exclusive weekly podcast as well with myself and Golden Goal Fantasy Football. We're currently running a 30-day free trial, so you can come and test it out, see if it's for you, get yourself in there. We've got a great community already building in there, helping each other out. Like I said, providing great information as well on injured players, potential transfer plans, all that good stuff. So much is going off in there, so go and check it out. Link in the description. Like I said, 30 days free off. Just come and try it, see if it's for you. And of course, come say hi to me and Tom as well in the Discord server. Let's move on then to the final player then that I am going to make all this possible. And I spoke about this guy in the last transfer plans video. It is going to be Minter from Brighton. They've got some great fixtures coming up, bar the Liverpool game. It's just a great steady run here in terms of fixtures. I definitely think, could be decent for, of course, Brighton to attack. Now, with this guy, there has been a little bit of overperformance in terms of his underlying numbers. But again, just an eye test perspective and just picking one of those players that really does just look like the real deal for 6 million. Minter feels like that guy. His minutes as well, heading into this festive period, I want to be trying to select players that, of course, have very, very good minutes. And Minter, his minutes are great. I think the earliest he's maybe come off is like 70. Everything else other than that is like an 88 and 90. Like the minutes just are genuinely ridiculous for him. He's pretty much what we expected Matoma to be for Brighton. Just a guy that is going to play every single minute and be kind of the key component of that side, because we've now known for years that Brentford are a very good attacking unit. We've seen that in the Premier League year on year. They're a side that are always kind of, punching up there in terms of expected goals. But the big problem has always been finding that nailed attacker. Years and years ago, we used to have Solly March. What a blast from the past he was. However, I do believe Minter is probably that option for Brighton right now. The other option being, of course, Danny Welbeck, who might have penalty appeal, but I do worry about his long-term minutes over this busy winter period. But a young man like Minter definitely should be playing a lot of football. His underlying data is looking pretty decent, creating plenty of opportunities for him and his side. Probably a little bit unfortunate not to have got himself more goal involvements. As you can see, quite a big underachievement so far for him so far this season. But overall, at 6 million, just feels like an overall great pickup. Let's go and put all my transfer plans into Fantasy Football Hub, see how we're going to get on over the next few weeks, and see where I might potentially play some of my chips. So, as you can see, this is how the team would be lining up for this week. Then, of course, if we were to make the transfers I have just ran through there, we've got free transfers in hand, so none of the moves would, of course, require a hit. I think the team looks pretty steady across the board for this game week. I'd be pretty happy to roll out with that as a side as well. Now, originally, the plan that I was floating around in some of my other transfer plans videos was, of course, maybe looking at a free hit in game week 13. We had a lot of Arsenal players up against Chelsea. Of course, we had Enzo, we had Gabriel, we've got Saka, we've got Raya. So it would have been a little bit of a mish-mash week. However, I think now, to be honest, with, of course, taking out Enzo and Gabriel, I don't mind just having Saka and Raya, and that's fine. We'll just deal with the rest. Other than that, I think the team's pretty decent to probably roll through and look at the triple captaincy option for Erling Haaland. This was a big thing that, of course, I was worried about in the last transfer plans video. I was like, if I don't play it in 13, all the other weeks do look a little bit shaky on where we potentially might, of course, look to play the chip. So that was my big concern during that week. That was the issue I was finding myself was, where do I really go with this chip and how do I get the best or the most maximum results out of this chip? And I was like, I think game week 13 still feels like the optimal week to, of course, be looking at the triple captaincy, because after that point, you've got midweek rounds, you've got lots of Champions League football. There could be rotation and we might see Haaland not even play full 90 minutes. And that is what I really, really want with my triple captaincy. In terms of weeks then where we might go with the free hit, if we keep just plodding through and see weeks where the team maybe looks a little bit weak, this week looks like a great week for the team, to be honest. Game week 15 probably stands itself out as a week where maybe I might go, purely down to the fact that I potentially could want Mohamed Salah for this week up against Leeds. That could be the reason that we go for this week. Of course, Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo with Wolves, an absolutely cracking fixture there. So again, though, the team feels like it could very easily probably just scrape through this week. There's a few iffy picks in here, but overall the team does feel very good and very balanced. Game week 16 is where we get a top up of AFCON transfers, so Ndai and Mbeumo probably will be on their way out anyway. Of course, as you can see here, we've got a fixture with Mateta. Again, it's just probably going to be finding a week where Salah's got a great fixture and Haaland hasn't, where I might play it. The only other week I could really see myself doing is maybe game week 12. Just kind of, you know, if we get reports that maybe Semenyo, Gabriel, they're just going to be a 1 week injury, maybe we just look at a game week 12 free hit. Get it out of the way. Get, of course, these players out of the side for this week. There's still some great fixtures to, of course, be targeting this game week. Get myself a Mohamed Salah in there against Nottingham Forest. Haaland hasn't got a very prolific record against Newcastle United within the Premier League as well, and that could be the route that we maybe go for with this side. But for right now, I do feel like I'm going to make all the transfers I have said, obviously providing that the injury news that we do get is correct. Game week 13, we're going to look to play the triple captain, and I do believe then we're probably just going to find a week where the team looks a little bit iffy and activate that free hit a little bit further down the line. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. You know the deal by now. Get it in there as well if you've got any dilemmas. Make sure you join in the FPL Discord, and the best of luck for FPL Game Week 12.